You are listening to the Overwatch League Network, the podcast with Deadeye on all the Overwatch League news and information. The show with Tactical Visor on the statistics and analysis. Here are your hosts, Totally Drunk, Spider, and Slambo.
Welcome back to Overwatch League Network, the podcast with Deadeye on all your latest Overwatch League news, information, and esports analysis. I am not totally drunk. I am your host, Curtis Grove, also known as Spider. Totem is a little under the weather this week, so, I have to pick up the slack and host the show, so this will probably go horribly. Before I introduce my co-host, I do want to say thank you to all the listeners, new and repeat. Other than that, Matt, Mr. Slambo, the surviving soulmate, is my co-host tonight. How you feeling tonight, Woo! Slambo?
What's up, nerd? I'm feeling very hype, Spider, because it's just me and you. All right, it is just mano y mano. There is no totem here to oppress us with his perfect attention to detail and all of his information. No, actually, we miss Totem very much so. He's feeling a little under the weather, so we hope that he gets well soon, and we miss him.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to see his side of things, because he normally does a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, like show notes and basically all the real work that goes into the show. So it was interesting to kind of pick that up, and, he still helped with the show notes. To, give him credit, he would not let me do that alone. So the attention to detail will still be there. So I don't want anybody to worry because I didn't.
Yeah. Don't worry. I wasn't trying to put you down. I wasn't trying to say we're not always great. Just me with some of our details and information sometime. But, truly, I do appreciate the amount of work Totem puts in, and I used to do a lot more of that stuff. I don't have to as much anymore, and it's a lot of work. So anyway, I don't know why we're just giving Totem love. This is his show. We should be ripping on him.
Yeah,
we normally are.
How dare you get sick and leave us to do this show?
There we go.
But we are an Overwatch League podcast, so I guess we should talk about Overwatch League.
Fair enough.
There wasn't a whole lot of news this week. In terms of the league, there was a pretty big announcement in Overwatch in general. The new hero was announced, which we will talk about. But let's get to the league stuff first. Really, the biggest news that kind of broke this week was Taimu from the Dallas Fuel kind of came under fire for using a slur during the stream. This is kind of similar to the XQC situation. Another Dallas player comes under fire for basically saying something he shouldn't have said initially. The interesting thing is this actually happened way back in January 23rd. So, I say way back, but it's only about a month ago. But it came 4 days after XQC was suspended and fined. So it was interesting to see how Taimu kind of slipped past everybody when everybody was kind of focusing on XQC. Now, Slambo, I know this was pretty recent news, and you may not have caught all of it. But why do you think this is coming out now? And what do you think should happen to Taimu?
There's an easy joke here, which I'm disappointed to deliver, but we can say that XQC was just tanking all the attention. Okay, in all seriousness, I think you're right. It was a huge distraction on the part of XQC and kind of what was going on there. And he was already under the gun in the public in the past. So people just kind of expected XQC to go off the rails again. And again, there's more attention because of his past. And anytime he does anything, it's just easy to get that clickbait to get everybody interested. So that's one aspect of it. And then the other end, I guess, you're asking is what should be the punishment? And it's got to be a minimum 4-game suspension. Minimum. And same fine that XQC paid as well. So that $2,000, again, not a fortune. These guys get paid pretty well, but that's still a lot of money. That's easily, a paycheck or something for these guys. And so that's tough. But, they'll live. But I just feel like that's minimum, Spider. I mean, am I off base here? I just feel like you can't not match what XQC got because his offense was very similar. In fact, not as upfront almost as Taimu's.
I could see that. Yeah, I kind of agree. I feel like he should have the same exact fine and suspension that XQC had. But part of me says, does it really even matter that, like, is this going to affect the Dallas Fuel? And I don't think so. I mean, they haven't ran XQC since the first game of Stage 1. They've replaced him essentially on the hit scan role. So, sure, they can fine him and they should suspend him, but does it matter?
No, I mean, I guess that's a whole nother debate, right? And I think that, to me, what I focus on is just the consistency in the punishments. I don't want to start to see a flip-floppy kind of approach to how they treat these incidents. And I'm just, again, I'm not even thinking about gameplay or impact on the team or what it's going to do to the competition's perspective. I'm only very concerned, and it matters a lot to me, that we have a consistent punishment doled out when people have offenses like this for the league to be taken seriously. So again, I'm sorry to take it back to that, but that's all that matters to me. And I don't even care yet how it affects the roster.
Good. I'm actually glad we're on the same page as each other with this, just because the big question is, this happened over a month ago, and how far back should people be looking into pro Overwatch players' streams? Should you start, when Overwatch League started? Because another popular case that's come out since then, this hasn't really been reported, but it's been linked multiple times in the discussions, is Jake actually told someone to go kill themselves, like straight up on stream. In not the fun, he killed me. So it was definitely a tilt and anger. You could see it on Jake's face. You could see it in the reaction. And that happened after the Overwatch League had started. So should other players be held accountable? Or do you feel like this is just really somebody looking to make a scapegoat out of the Fuel?
I mean, you might want to think that, Mr. Burn Blue. I don't think it's Fuel specific. I just think they're high profile players, regardless of what roster they're on. Taimu, XQC, high profile player. XQC in particular has one of the most dominant streams. But I want to, I guess, okay, so let's
break it down. So do you think they should go back?
No. I think that I want to go back to Jake. Okay, that's why I'm fumbling here, is because despite XQC and Taimu again taking the spotlight and us focusing on them, Jake's instance is very much different. We need to be able to discern that one is a homophobic and racial potentially slur in some of the stuff from Taimu, but homophobic in the instance of XQC and Taimu. And what Jake did is definitely not okay, and we don't condone any type of ill will on anybody. If you need help, get the help. All that. I mean, look at me. I'm dancing on eggshells around it. I know it's a soft topic, but to me, Jake is an outburst of rage, and we can mention it, we can talk about it, but it's just not on the same level as what XQC and Taimu did, and it's not fair to put those on the same level. And again, that wouldn't be if Jake got suspended for 4 games, then I'm pissed off again about consistency, because now. What type of comment is 4-game punishment? Any comment, any type of spiteful thing you say, again, then I think with Jake's we start to blur the line. So that's all I can pull from that.
I feel like you and I work really well together, just because that's kind of where I wanted you to go. I think it's all about consistency. It's all about what level of, I guess, hurt they're doing, and none of it is right. But you have to treat each case as its own, but you also have to look at the past to see how it goes. So I think the overall, I guess, summation of this is Taimu should be suspended. He should be fined.
Yes.
But moving forward, it should be done a little sooner than a month in advance. Or a month.
I'm not sure what the statute of limitation is going to be on that. But I mean, there is a certain point where you've just got to let stuff go. But then again, not to keep this going, but then if it's an egregious enough offense, if it's like really racist or sexist, and it's from a year ago, I don't know. God, okay. See, again, we're just going to keep this going forever. This is a much longer debate for another time. But
Yeah.
essentially, you can tell just from here, there's a lot of blurred lines.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Taimu. There hasn't been any Overwatch League statement. There's no statement from Blizzard. There was a statement from the Fuel that says we are aware of this. We're looking into this. The standard PR statement. So we'll see what happens with Taimu. But as our consensus is, we fully expect at least, at very least, the same punishment that Felix XQC got. So. Enough dancing around eggshells. Let's get to something, a little more fun. Let's talk about the new Overwatch hero, Brigitte. She's hero 27. She's a support. She kind of leans heavily into the off-tank role. Pretty much by now, everybody's seen her. They've seen what she can do. If for some reason you haven't, you can play her on the PTR. You can also check out our YouTube channel. I did a video that kind of showcased different stuff like interactions and stuff, and Totem was in that too. So he made his contribution there. So really, what I want to focus on is kind of how she's going to affect the Overwatch League. And there's really three things that two major things, and then I want to kind of get your initial impressions of her overall. So the first big question, and we'll get that out of the way, is how do you think she is going to affect the meta? Because basically, Papa Jeff said this hero is going to directly affect the meta. So Slambo, do you think she is going to change the meta when she is playable in Overwatch League?
On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not affect the meta at all, 10 being everything is ruined, she's a 9. She's a hard 9. Like, not the game is pretty much changing. I feel like when she comes in, I don't mean to be too hyperbolic or too verbose, if you will, on this topic. But what I will try to say quickly is she seems to confuse my brain when I think of strategy. On, is it 3 supports now? Is it 2 supports with Brigitte and main healer? Is it, again, like I said, the 3 support where there's 2 main healers and a Brigitte and then like 2 tanks and a Reaper? Like, what the possibilities are with this kind of tank, kind of support role? It just shifts, again, the numbers in particular in the tank and the support column. So those 2 columns can now be shifted a little bit more. So we can see 3 support. The 3 tanks will be more like a 2 tank with a 3rd. Again, it's very cool. It's a very exciting time. So I think she has a huge effect on the meta.
Excellent. I actually agree with you. I've done a lot of testing on the PTR, and that's not indicative of Overwatch League at all because all the games are crapshoots. You never know what you're going to get. But she actually pairs really well with 2 more supports because she can fill that off tank role pretty easily, especially if you pair her with something with say a big shield like Reinhardt. So I'm interested to see how she'll affect it. I mean, I feel like she's gonna shut down the dive meta almost immediately. As soon as she's available, Genji and Tracer become substantially harder to play. Basically, they're a lot more dangerous because she shuts them down. She stuns them, and then the rest of their team takes care of them. She initially had a combo where she could kill Tracer before the stun ended. They have patched that out. So she's not a wrecking ball on her own anymore. But I think Jeff was right. I think she is going to fundamentally change the meta. And we're going to see, maybe triple support comps. Or, we'll see triple tank go further into that. It's interesting to see, how she shakes out when the pros get a hold of her. All right, so when do you think she's going to be available? The current timeline has her coming out on live right at the end of Stage 3. Do you think they'll put her in or Stage 2, rather? Do you think they'll put her in for Stage 3, or do you think they'll wait a whole stage and put her in for Stage 4?
I think you should not ask me, because I want her to be out tomorrow. I want her to be in Stage 2 right now. So I have a very irrational feeling on this whole thing because of how cool she is and how much potential she has. But I truly think that her release date will be the 27th of March, which will put her right in line to be available for Stage 3. I think it will just line up.
That could actually be some pretty huge changes for Sage 3 because we'll see the Sombra changes go in. We'll see Brigitte come in. I hope that's what happens. I hope they don't sit too far back in patches because even like this week, I hate watching Sombra now because that's not how she's played anymore. So I hope they don't exclude a character so we have to sit a whole stage without her. So, last question is kind of, throwing darts at the wall, but have you tried her? How do you feel about her? Like, do you like her? Do you think she'll impact the everyday game? Like, non-Overwatch League.
Here's the deal. Okay, here's the deal. I feel like if I've never really felt this way in Overwatch. I think, Spider, you know me as a true flex player, right? I think I can play a little bit of DPS, not well all the time, but I can play great tanks and great support pretty consistently. I can handle my business. If I don't get Brigitte in every one of my games, I'm leaving. I'm gone, Spider. I am all right. I'm gonna peel that back.
You should play on the PTR then, because that's how the PTR goes.
It really is. Partially kidding, but if I ever get the opportunity, I will be picking her a lot. I'm not going to consider myself a Brigitte main, but the problem is that the tanking, healing, paladin type archetype, the Crusader from Diablo, the Paladin from Diablo 2, the Paladin from Warcraft, and any like little MMO I pick up, it's my class because I like to tank and self heal and sustain, and this thing just checks so many boxes for me. It has the amazing like skill based stun. That right click, it's a very short distance, but you can interrupt so many things with that. It's a short cooldown. You can really micromanage a Rhine shield a little. Anyway, I'm going too deep on each individual concept, but there are so many things about her that make her attractive. The boops, the potentials, the way you can shut down the Winston dive. I'm very excited for all that she brings, and I will try to play her every chance I get. But that being said, if I don't get her, I do like Moira. I do like Ana. I do like so many of the tanks. So I feel like this, for me as a player, this season and this patch has been the healthiest it feels as a player. And I think Brigitte doesn't step into that, change it. She will always be present, but we will still get a wide breadth and depth of heroes regardless of her. We're still going to see a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I've played her almost about an hour and a half on the PTR now. I've played with her even more, just because, like I said, most people try to insta-lock her. I do really like her. I like the boops. I mean, I've already started my chain whip Castlevania montage, so you can't get any better than that. The one thing I noticed that I didn't realize would make such a big difference is it's really hard to play Roadhog with her because that shield is everywhere, and as soon as you try to take a breather and walk away, she's in your face stopping it. So I play a lot of Roadhog. He's kind of like my de facto go-to tank when I don't have to main tank. So I am going to have to adjust that playstyle heavily, or just, fully fall into a full support main. All right, so let's get into our question of the week we sent out last week. We've seen some fun stuff go. We kind of talked about it a little last week, so I don't want to go too far into it, but we've seen the crowd kind of come up with these fun ideas like make Zen walk or make Torb wall climb. So we threw this out to the viewers. What do you want to see? Like, what quirky animation, what just random thing in Overwatch do you want to see? So we did get quite a few responses, which you can see this is very popular. So I'll go ahead and take the Twitter responses. Made You Look said, let Ana Primal Rage. That's one angry grandma. And Pika Chalupa said, let Zarya DMAC. So is that like a Russian nesting doll where like a smaller Zarya would come out of a bigger Zarya? Some of these you really have to use your imagination. Slambo, why don't you take the Discord responses?
Oh, you want me to read? I'm trying to shake Zarya's coming out of Zarya's out of my head. Ooh, that was creepy. All right, I'll give Discord a shot. Shrug, give Reinhardt Torbjorn's height and weight, Reinhardt doing Lucio's dance emote. I think out of those two, Reinhardt and with Torbjorn's height and weight is about all I need in life. And to see him swing a hammer like that would be great. So nice job, Shrug. All right, Hrunting and Juggernaut, they both agree to let Rein fly. So just give him Farah's rocket booster. Is that all that is?
I guess. I mean, I've seen Ryan fly a few times when Roadhog ults.
That's what I'm saying. I've seen it. Blaze and Bob from the Owl recap, and he says, best one I've heard is Reinhardt doing the Genji deflect animation.
I said that
last show.
Yeah.
He gave you credit. And oh wait, did you type that in the notes?
Yeah, I typed that in the notes.
This guy typed it in the notes. All right, anyway, and I'm sorry I lost my place there. Okay, we're good. Casper said, I'd like to see Roadhog doing Sombra's turning invisible hand move without actually turning invisible, just like the wave. Okay, I imagine it would look like him doing some type of flare move, or maybe he could do her dance emote. Do you see how I said the flare there, Spider? Was that apt?
That was apt, yeah. That was good.
Some type of flare move, or maybe he could do her dance mode. I think Roadhog doing Sombra's dance mode is gross. Spanky Hunter says, let Mercy Dragonblade brings a new meaning to Battle Mercy. I love that. Do you know what's funny? Is that was mine. Spoiler alert. Thanks a lot, Spanky Hunter. Whenever you typed that, I was like, dang it, man. Not Rob says, let Mercy Rocket Punch. Now that is a combination the world needs. Mullenfield, let Zenyatta Death Blossom. I'm trying to picture that one.
Just balls flying everywhere.
I'm saying it'd still be orbs, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now I get it. Now. A blind gentleman says, give Symmetra's Farah's jetpack.
No.
That one's tough because then those turrets are like in the worst places possible. And the animation would just be jets coming out of like her very short skirt. Very creepy. Very creepy. The dude abides _B. Let Roadhog wall ride.
Highly mobile pig.
Pixio. And Wombat Cube says, now I want to see Orisa do Sombra's dance. Those are good. Mine was already spoiled, so what do you got?
I'm sticking with the Reinhardt deflect. I just think that would be so funny to watch him just flail that hammer around. There were some good ones in there. I honestly think they could implement the Mercy Rocket Punch pretty easy. Just link it to like her Guardian Angel, so she flies across the screen like superhero like. I think that'd be pretty good.
What if we flopped it the other way though, where we have Doomfist do Mercy's res?
That'd be pretty good.
Kind of like the whole arm motion and
with the Doomfist
posing with the staff. Yeah, the hand is up in the air. There we go. That's one I could sign on to.
That'd be pretty good. All right, so we'll have our next question of the week up probably sometime tomorrow or the next day. Totem's usually pretty good at posting them. Hopefully he remembers to post it to Twitter.
Maybe.
I got to get the jabs in now because we were so nice to him at the start of the show.
We were too nice.
All right, so let's get into our main discussion this week. Stage 2, Week 2. We'll go over the results, and then we'll give a preview of Week 3. So Wednesday, February 28th, we had Seoul Dynasty defeat the Dallas Fuel 3-1. That was a rough one to watch. For me, personally, you probably liked it. The LA Valiant
mad.
The LA Valiant defeated the San Francisco Shock 3-1. The LA Gladiators defeated the Shanghai Dragons 4-0. Thursday, March 1st, we had the London Spitfire defeat the Florida Mayhem 3-1. We had the Philadelphia Fusion defeat the Houston Outlaws in 3. I kind of wanted to spoil it, but we'll talk about this one later. The Fusion defeated the Outlaws 3-2. NYXL defeated Boston Uprising 4-0. Friday, March 2nd. Boston Uprising defeated the Florida Mayhem 4-0. Seoul Dynasty defeated the LA Gladiators 3-1. Another good game for you. The LA Valiant defeated the Dallas Fuel 3-1. Another bad game for me. Saturday, March 3rd. London Spitfire defeated the Philadelphia Fusion 4-0. The NYXL defeated Houston Outlaws 4-0. And the Shock defeated the Shanghai Dragons 4-0 to basically cap out for Overwatch. All right, so we have some major talking points that we have to go over. And the first one, because I wrote the show notes, is going to be the fuel. The fuel fell 2-2, and they basically showed that the only teams they could beat were the Gladiators, the Dragons, and the Shock. So, what went wrong with the fuel? I think the biggest problem with the fuel was they relied on AKM to carry the team a little too much, and they're not playing Rascal enough.
Boom. Maybe not the Rascal part as much, but the AKM piece I think stands out greatly to me because, in particular, Dallas, whenever they get comfortable, they seem to do this, where they play games that now they should continue that increase. They should continue that momentum. And they play these mid-tier teams almost. Again, not in all instances mid-tier teams, but mid-tier team in regards to the Valiant, right? The Valiant's kind of not a top echelon, top 4 team all the time. And I think that was kind of the match everyone expected them to win. They took a map off Seoul. They're still kind of showing they have that potential. They have this strong roster. But then they just rest on their laurels almost against the Valiant. They relied too much on AKM, like you said. And then Rascal's not seeing as much time because of AKM. So a lot of, chaos, it seems, on how the management wants to proceed going forward with this roster. And I had high hopes for Dallas this year. Or this year, this stage. I think last stage I was a little hard on them, and I was going to say they're not going to end up winning the league, but they would show progression. And I think the Valiant game was supposed to be their coming out party, and it wasn't. And it was a bit disappointing. Even for me, I'm not the biggest Dallas fan, but I thought that this was their chance to kind of say, hey, we're just that notch above now. We've caught up in that way.
It was really interesting because I feel like the Seoul game was actually really close. They did lose 3-1, but every map went the full distance. Like every map was in overtime for extended amount of time. They were both fighting back and forth. And Seoul was the better team. Seoul deserved to win, but it was a much closer match. And then when they played the Valiant, they looked bad. I mean, Effect wasn't himself. I mean, Effect did so badly that during halftime, he actually stayed on stage to practice. A lot of people saw the pictures of him sitting alone on stage and said, oh, he's tilted. That's bad teamwork. And later it kind of came out and it actually came out through XQC because he's the one who talks through everything. But it came out that he was on stage practicing, but he was still talking to the team on the comms, and he actually felt so bad that he was doing so badly that he couldn't face his team in the locker room, so he had to talk through them through the comms, which I still think comes off a little childish, like you got to kind of own it up. But it was, interesting to see that there was a lot more to that side of the story. The other big thing is Kai has kind of come under fire this week for this. Specifically like Rascal not getting a lot of playtime, them not swapping, their strategies, their heroes, their players. Basically, they run one specific comp with AKM, like we talked about, and Seoul kind of broke the code on that. And you can see in the later games, they kind of knew how to work around that. And then Valiant just exploited it. You can see that in their first match on Hanamura, where Valiant held Dallas on the second point for, 7 minutes? Because they relied too much on AKM. So, wrapping up the fuel talk, what do you think about Kai? Do you think he should be in the hot seat at this point? Do you think they should look for a new coach? Do you think they need more coaches? Like, how do you feel about Kai as the coach for Dallas right now?
Okay, I'm going to answer this first part and say that I think AKM stepping in is providing a lot of influence on how things should go, and he's kind of shot calling and taking a lead. We found that out last week when I was on Around the Payload, which you will be on tomorrow. Hashtag shameless. But anyway, we know that AKM is really stepping in and almost taking a bit more of a leadership role with the team. And I'm assuming that might be kind of stepping on Kai's toes and causing some of this poor decision making and causing some of this tightness. So I can see that. I don't think Kai deserves to be completely under fire yet, but I think that they're getting closer to needing to make a change, or like you said, add some additional support staff. But I also just want to say the whole effect thing, that's on Kai.
Mm-hmm.
You don't let a player do that. Okay, no player in any sport stays out, except for if you're like Tom, I cried too much Brady, and you get to kind of do what you want. You know, no one goes out and does their own thing. They're with a team. It's a team sport. You're with the team. Even if you're on quote unquote comms with the team, no, you get your butt in the dugout and you stay with the team and you look your teammates in the eye. That is, a coach cannot allow that. That's pretty aggressive thought from me, but I spent a lot of time growing up playing organized sports, and I don't know. I think if we want Overwatch to be considered in that serious echelon, I'm very serious. I have a stigma on this almost. I always repeat this, but I want to be taken seriously in this. I want to be able to really show this product off to my peers and my parents, my family members, and be proud that it is ran like a sport. And I think that it just needs to be consistent. So again, is this the biggest deal? No. Should I be having this huge rant over effect? No. But just conceptually, for the principle of the fact, it's Kai's responsibility to pull effect in the dugout. And I'll stop there.
Well said. You basically nailed all the points I wanted to say. So well said.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. I got on the soapbox there.
Anything to save me from talking is A-okay with me. So we got more things to talk about though. So Philly reverse swept the Outlaws for the second time. So we got to start looking at this. Like, were the Outlaws outplayed? Was there something else? Because the Outlaws looked really dominant early, and then Philly came out after halftime and looked like a completely different show. Coolmat and Muma did what they could, but Carpe and Shadowburn basically would infiltrate the back line and pick off Raucus almost every fight. But that wasn't the big problem. And the big problem was Jake. It was Jake on Tracer. They've been favoring him over Clockwork just because of his flexibility. Clockwork's really only known to play Tracer, whereas Jake can play Junkrat. Jake can, I guess, pick Soldier. He can pick Tracer. So what do you think, Slambo? Do you think this was on Jake? Do you think this was team failing? Like, where do you see this problem? Because this is the second time this has happened to them. So there has to be something Philly is figuring out mid-game.
I think it's a little tilt. It just feels like when they were up 2-0 and Philly took that first map, they all kind of shrunk a little bit posture-wise. They just seemed to tighten up, right? And they, even in their gameplay and their body language and their communication, it just felt a little more stiff. I don't know if you were reading it that way or not, but that's what I was reading. Mm-hmm. And they kind of reminded them that this had happened in the past. So now Philly was kind of living rent-free right in their head. The other thing on top of that is EQO lit a fire under Shadowburn's butt. His shadow burnt because he really played with a bit more confidence and hunger, and it really made the difference, especially when that momentum began to pick up. But don't forget, they didn't like destroy them. As it went to the very last map, I almost wanted to say Oasis. Save me, Spider. I am fumbling, brother. The very last map is Ilios. Thank goodness I got it in my head.
Oh,
there we go, folks. That's right. Yeah, they keep the Ilios, the map 5. And it's like every point went to 99 to 99. And that very last point on Well, it was just such an intense battle. It was so fun to watch that even though that I think Carpe and Shadowburn and Philly had the edge there, it's a super close matchup. It's some of the most fun Overwatch we've had. So I just think those slight factors of being in their head and Shadowburn playing a little better than he normally does just, again, tip the scale ever so in favor of the Fusion. This is not an indictment on Houston. They're still a very good team, very strong team, and their record is not indicative of how good they are this stage.
So do you think this will happen again, or do you think it'll be a very different match the third time they meet?
Map 5, 99.99, point 3 of a King of the Hill or Control, and Houston wins. Like, it's going to be this close every time these teams play. They are very close.
All right, so let's get to the last major point, and this is going to be one close to your heart. Seoul is the lone team going into week 3 unbeaten. They've only dropped 3 maps, so they are ahead in wins. They are ahead in map differential. It seems like they fixed a lot of their problems. Zumba played out of his mind this week. Miro was a little quieter, but also still posted, amazing statistics for a main tank. So the tanks seem to be doing a little better. But honestly, the big story this weekend was Munchkin. He was the one talked about in social media. He was the one, XQC was crying on stream about. He was insane this week. He posted a plus 50 kill death differential on Tracer, which is phenomenal. He basically made both Dallas and Gladiators supports miserable. So, Mr. Soulmate, I know you got to be feeling pretty good about Soul, but is this indicative of the team as a whole? They've had kind of a lighter schedule, if you consider Dallas a lighter team, other than the Valiant. So, have they righted the ship? Is Munchkin and Fleta the answer, or should they kind of stick with Bunny and Fleta as their go-to and use Munchkin as the flex? Like, what do you think changed in Soul, and what do you think they still have to change?
What changed in Soul was the patch, like the meta. That is what changed for Soul. And also, I'm going to be like a little bit of a downer here. I will say I have Soul number 1 in my power rankings, both last week and this week. So I really thought going into this next week they were the team to beat and still will do well. But they also have faced fairly easy competition, which is the reason for that high map differential. But truly, I mean, Dallas, Gladiators, Shock, and Valiant, that's not, there's no New York in there. There's no Houston. There's no London. So until they're facing some more of that higher, and even Philly at this point, anyone in that realm, it's going to be a more respectable win. So we just haven't earned those yet. Hashtag soulmates. I'm sorry. I'm saying some mean stuff, but I just feel like that's the truth, though. Additionally, I think the answer to your other question is they need to keep doing the mix-up. I feel like just like the Shadowburn EQO, you need to keep moving Munchkin on and off, and Fleta, and just kind of keeping that rotation healthy so these players are staying hungry for the opportunities and putting a lot of time in. And I think it does change a lot for the opponents as well. And Soul's able to do it. They have the roster that works for them. So I say keep it going with the swap, but don't let it get too stale. Don't leave just one lineup in for too long.
Do you think Gambler will have a big effect on the support lineup, or do you think he's just there as a backup?
He's there to learn Moira, and that's it. That's all they'll use him for.
And Brigitte.
Hey, they actually hired me to play her. So watch your mouth.
Oh, the first non-Korean on Soul. You heard it here first. All right.
You're picking me up at a $2 a year salary.
You should have argued a little better like Sinatra did. All right, so let's get into our power rankings. With last week, we did see quite a bit of movement. As you mentioned, we have Soul Dynasty coming in first place. They moved up 2 spots. London Spitfire dropped a spot to number 2. New York Excelsior climbed a spot to number 1. Houston Outlaws dropped 2 spots after losing both their matches to number 4. Fusion stayed the same at number 5, and the Valiant climbed up 1 spot to number 6. We'll post the full results in our Discord, but honestly, below 6, there wasn't a whole lot of movement besides Dallas dropping 2. So honestly, we kind of know who the bottom of the barrel is at this point. All right, so
no comment.
Yeah, as I wanted to cut that one short because you can say some pretty mean stuff when you don't mean to.
And they're the other teams.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get into this week coming up. This will be week 3 of Stage 2. We have some pretty interesting matchups. but not any really big like heavy hitter like London versus New York or Seoul versus New York. But we do have a lot of chance for some upsets. So let's hop right in. Wednesday, March 7th at 4 p.m. PST, we have the Seoul Dynasty facing Shanghai Dragons. The maps will be Volskaya, Lijiang Tower, Kings Row, and Route 66. All right, Slambo, give me your huge in-depth analysis on what's going to happen here.
I love that you set me up like that, because what was so funny is I was like, oh, well, here's what I'm going to say. This is going to be the fastest matchup breakdown ever. And then you facetiously said, let's hear the huge breakdown. So you called it. Seoul wins easily. They will drop a map because they're going to play Bunny and he's going to play May the whole map. But just because they're trying out some stuff, and that's it. And then other than that, I'm kind of being mean, aren't I? Okay, if I'm being a little bit more objective, a little more honest, it's that Shanghai just hasn't got those pieces put together yet. They've had some nice pickups, but they're just not ready. And we may see some of their new lineup come out. And again, I say come out and just maybe show up, have an impact, but I doubt it. But what I will say is Seoul is really good right now. They're playing strong, even with the backup lineup. I think they're miles apart from Shanghai. The tanks and the supports from Shanghai will continue to volley, and this will be a 3-1 victory for Seoul.
Well put.
I kind of rambled there. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it works out. At 6 p.m. PST, we have the San Francisco Shock playing the Dallas Fuel. The maps will be Volskaya, Lijiang Tower, Kings Row, and Route 66. So Dallas is coming off of 2 hard losses. Shock's got a win, so good for them, but it came at the hands of Shanghai, so how good for them is it? See, we're still being mean. I mean,
I started this. I feel bad.
Okay, so the Shock got a win. Good job, Shock. But I fully expect Dallas to win this one just because last time they played, Dallas beat them, and Dallas is going to want to rebound. They're going to be hungry, and I think they're going to take it 3-1. All right, so 8 p.m. PST, we have our game of the week. It is the battle for LA. The LA Gladiators versus the LA Valiant. The maps will be Hanamura, Lijiang Tower, Hollywood, and Watch Point Gibraltar. So, Slambo, we saw the Valiant take this last time. Who's going to take it this time?
I mean, the Valiant took it last time, but it was 3-2. I was surprised how close this was. I think Valiant at the time was a heavy favorite, and we expected them to probably win it 3-1. So it was nice to see how close it was. I think both of these teams have taken a step down as we head into Stage 2. And they still kind of remain level to each other, but again, further down the ladder than they both were when they met last time. I believe we're going to see a fairly close match here, but the Valiant with Kareev on DPS are going to bring a little bit of a different fury. Fisher, even though he does make a nice impact for Gladiators, they are missing a couple more pieces, or maybe just a couple more polish on some pieces they already have. So this will be 3-1, I think, in favor of the Valiant. Let's see if Fisher can really change the matchup, because he was not around last time. But I don't think he'll be able to make the difference, like I said. So that's the player to watch, because he may swing the matchup. But overall, it's the game of the week, the battle for LA. And I think the Valiant will squeeze it out 3-1.
I think that's a good prediction, especially with the Valiant's new coach being on site. So I think they've got everything going in their favor. I don't see why that prediction would be wrong. But, I always pick wrong anyway, so don't trust me. Thursday, March 8th at 4 p.m. PST, we have the London Spitfire versus the Boston Uprising. The maps will be Hanamura, Nepal, Hollywood, and Watch Point Gibraltar. So Boston looked a little shaky week 1, but week 2 they seemed to pick back up, not quite to the return to form, but they still looked a little better. But, London is London. They still look pretty solid. So I don't see why London's not going to take this at least 3-1. At 6 p.m.
That easy, huh? That's that quick. Just 3. Okay, I'm just making sure, brother.
I mean, I could break down the intricacies of how they're running dive versus London's options, but London's going to beat them.
Fair enough.
I mean, even if Boston knew what London was going to do, Boston doesn't know what London's going to do because they still have 10 players on their roster. So,
Bam. Lock it in.
at 6 p.m. PST, we have the Philadelphia Fusion playing the New York XL. The maps will be Volskaya, Nepal, Kings Row, and Route 66. So the Fusion is on an upswing. New York XL still look good. Do you think this will be an upset, or do you think it's going to be business as usual for the XL?
I mean, Fusion beat him last time in stage 1, and this is almost becoming a better rivalry for me than New York and Boston. Is this New York and Philadelphia thing they've got going on here too? There's definitely some hate between those towns. I think Eagles and Giants. So I kind of want to call like the East Coast Triangle, but between Boston, New York, and Philly, there's some nice rivalry, some great teams up there. I kind of like what they got going on. But that being said, I think the Philadelphia Fusion are going to continue this momentum. I think that win over Houston is going to propel their confidence. They know they took down New York last time in a very close matchup. And New York is vulnerable. I think they're maybe a bit fatigued. Maybe that's what I'm sensing from them. They're still, again, a top team right now, but I just get this weird sense that they're really close to other teams are really close on their heels and really close to catching up. So I think, again, 3-2, it'll be 5 maps, but Philly will eke it out. It won't be a reverse sweep this time for Philly. It will be a more incremental approach to the victory, but they've got New York in their back pocket, and they'll win it again.
Do you think we'll see EQO, or do you think we'll see more Shadowburn?
I hope we see more Shadowburn, but I think they're going to continue that rotation, possibly just to mix it up for teams, because again, as we've discussed, slightly different styles.
All right, so moving on, at 8 p.m. PST, we have the Florida Mayhem versus the Houston Outlaws. The maps will be Hanamura, Lijiang Tower, Hollywood, and Watchpoint Gibraltar. So the Outlaws had a rough week last week, whereas the Mayhem have had a rough stage in 2 weeks. So I don't see how Florida turns this around with their current roster. I feel like we have to wait and see if they're going to play the new roster, which last I heard they're still waiting on visas. So with that in mind, I think Houston's just going to right the ship, and Tyrong's going to take a look at those hard losses and fix what needs to be fixed. And Houston's going to take it 4-0. So Friday, March 9th at 4 p.m. PST, we have the London Spitfire playing the Boston Uprising. The maps will be Hanamura, Nepal, Hollywood, and Watchpoint Gibraltar. So last stage, you could have considered this maybe a closer match, but London has looked pretty good. Whereas
wait,
Boston,
didn't we already do this one?
did we?
I thought you did this one. I'm looking at the notes. Sorry, everybody. Might not have been worth it, but we definitely have the same one here twice.
Yeah, you might be right.
London versus Boston. Anyway, I don't know why that mattered right then.
Hang on, I'll get the.
I've got the whole schedule pulled up here. So our Friday, March 9th ones, and again, we're going to hashtag blame Totem on that. There is that matchup of London versus Boston. Did we talk Philly and Seoul from March 8th? That is the one we missed.
Yeah.
So, can I talk that one real fast? And you already did, and then we'll skip this one here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to steal that one from you because it's Seoul. Hashtag Soulmates.
Go for
I'm
it.
nervous for this matchup, Spider. I think that Philly, again, that momentum that they're going to beat New York with, that is going to probably kind of be propelled from their match with Seoul. I think Seoul is going to play it really close. Seoul will end up winning this, but it'll be one of those where there are tie maps where it goes 5 maps. It will be close with Philadelphia and Seoul on March 8th at 4 p.m. PST. I can't wait.
All right, so let's write this. So you did Philly versus Seoul. So we'll go back on March 8th. We have the Outlaws playing the Valiant at 9 p.m. The map pool will be, as soon as it loads, Volskaya, Lijiang, Hollywood, and Route 66. All right, so this I think will be a close match, but I still think Houston's going to take it. I feel like Houston wants the win a lot more. I feel like the Kareev... There we go. Fix that. I feel like Kareev has been doing good, but I feel like Houston's going to poke a hole in that and move forward. And finally, on Thursday, March 8th, we have the Uprising playing the Shanghai Dragons at a... Whoop. See, this is what happens when you do it live.
But you didn't. We did do this live. It's just that we just made a mistake in the show notes. It's throwing everything off. It's okay. It happens.
Yeah. All right, so the map pool will be Volskaya, Nepal, Kings Row, and Route 66. So why don't you break this one down? It's going to be Boston versus Shanghai.
So Boston, Shanghai. Again, I think this is largely indicative on if Shanghai gets those additional players about how close the map score will be. I think no matter what, Boston is going to end up winning this. Dream Casper, he will swallow whole any supports or tanks that are out of position. And again, Shanghai Dragon have been notorious for that in the past. So maybe Shanghai changes some of its roster. They get some more of those new players. Maybe this is, again, a map or two in Shanghai's favor. It gets a little closer. But I believe Boston should fairly easily take this 4-0 and get themselves a nice dent in their map differential for the playoff.
Sounds good. All right, so since we actually went over them already, but I will run them through just so everybody has all the matches. Friday, March 9th, we have the London Spitfire playing the Boston Uprising. So Boston is doing the Clopen. They are closing one night and opening the next day. New York Excelsior will be playing the Philadelphia Fusion, and then the final game of the night will be the Florida Mayhem versus the Houston Outlaws. All right. So now that we should have righted the ship, and we will move forward. Saturday, March 10th, we have the Spitfire playing the LA Gladiators. The maps will be Volskaya, Lijiang Tower, Kings Row, and Route 66. Gladiators have struggled. I mean, you can't put that any other way. Fisher has done what he can, but it isn't quite enough. And the big thing that I'm going to take away from this match is Fisher knows London because he played with London. But London has 10 people, and London knows Fisher. So I'm going to go with London on this one just because they kind of know what he does and how he plays and what he's going to bring. And the rest of the Gladiators are struggling anyway. So I'm going to say London 3-1.
Nice. Okay.
At 3 p.m.
No arguments with that. No arguments at all.
At 3 p.m. PST, we have the New York Excelsior versus the San Francisco Shock. The maps will be Volskaya, Lijiang, Hollywood, and Route 66. So, Slambo, what do you think? You think Baby Bay is going to beat the battle with Pine, or what?
No. I don't think really anyone on the side of the Shock is going to win a lot of those 1v1 battles over the course of the whole series. Of course, individually, things happen. This is Overwatch, a lot of eliminations. Dante is a force to be reckoned with when he's playing a lower mid-tier team. But when he goes up against this higher competition, he just doesn't have the same numbers that he always has. Baby Bay's great, fun to watch, but again, a same player that as the competition goes up, he kind of falls off a little faster. And I love Nomi. He's got a great story, great guy, but I just don't know if he is patient enough sometimes to really play against this top tier competition. He gets punished a lot less against these lower tier teams, but he dies, I feel like, a lot more against the higher tier. So they will struggle against New York. New York will win this 4-0. Not even a map for the Shock.
That's rough, but I have to agree with it. And our game wrapping up the week at 5 p.m. PST will be the Florida Mayhem playing the Dallas Fuel. The maps will be Hanamura, Nepal, Kings Row, and Watchpoint Gibraltar. So this is actually the first time these two teams have met in the Overwatch League. So this will be interesting to watch. I don't think Florida has the tools needed to take care of AKM like we saw this past week. So I honestly think Dallas is going to take this one 4-0. I'm being very generous there.
You would.
But either way, I think Dallas is going to win this one. I mean, Florida's only won one match so far, so I have to hope somewhere Dallas could, at least beat them. All right, so any standouts this week? Anything else you're looking forward to?
I really, personally, I know we said that our game of the week was the Battle for LA, Gladiator versus Valiant, but for me, it's that Philadelphia Fusion New York XL game. I think that one stands out to me as probably going to be a really fun and close match. And that, I don't know, again, I'm liking the rivalry that's forming. I've already said all that, but that's the one that stands out to me. And I want to see if Linkser can keep it consistent. I feel like he's kind of been really wild and out or invisible. I want to see some more balance at it.
Yeah, I actually was torn between that because I'm really interested in that match, and I hope we get to see EQO come out in what he can do with it. I'm also interested to kind of see that last match because I think that's going to really be indicative of where the Fuel belong. I think that's going to answer all of our questions. If they can beat the Mayhem, then maybe they have a chance to be that middle ground team. But if they struggle against the Mayhem, I think that's when you're going to start to see Kai really come under fire. So, I don't think there's much else to really go over. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So if you want to support the show, the best way you can support it is giving us a review over on iTunes or your podcasting app of choice. We did get a new 5-star review. Slambo, do you want to read that?
Of course I do. We got a 5-star review from Pickle Rick 89. A good, informative show. Hosts seem to be knowledgeable and mesh well together. I like the recap every week since I can't watch every match, and it's a good way to keep up. Thank you, Pickle Rick 89.
Pickle Rick! But yeah, help us out. Give us a review. We also have our Teespring campaign going on. You can purchase your Overwatch League Network shirts. It's just teespring.com/OWLN-show. We still have our Pick'em League going on, to my chagrin. But you can enter to win, fabulous prizes every stage. And then we have a season-long prize for the top performers. You can find us over on highnoonpick'em.com. We are a featured league, so just look for Overwatch League Network. With that, I have to go over the host rankings because Totem wouldn't forgive me if I
Wouldn't
didn't
allow it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be prudent.
So in first place, we have Totemly Drunk with 8,600 for the stage and 28,350 for the season. In second place, we have Slambo with 8,250 for the stage and 27,950 for the season. And in third place, we have me with a really bad score. So we'll just skip that. I made a lot of
forever third.
Exactly. I made a lot of bold predictions, and my bold predictions were wrong, and my safe predictions were wrong last week. So it was a bad week for me. So shh. You know what? Totem's banned from chat. All right. So
he's sick as a dog, but still is able to moderate. This guy's he's tough. He's got gumption. I like this kid.
All right. We also have a programming update. We kind of teased it last week and went through it, but Heroes Never Die will actually be streamed on this Twitch channel starting this Thursday at 5 p.m. PST, and it will be hosted by Totemly Drunk and Edinar. Heroes Never Die is kind of the variety side, whereas we concentrate on like the pro Overwatch League side. Heroes Never Die is a little bit more casual, but he'll keep you up to date on all the latest Overwatch news, community topics. They also do go a little bit into the Overwatch League and more. So it's kind of a relaunch for them. Check it out. I mean, we had Edinar on a show, I guess 2 weeks ago now, maybe a little more. But check it out, Thursday, 5 p.m. PST.
Daner.
He's still ragging on me in chat. So where can you find me? Well, where can you find us?
I would love to tell you that you can send us an email. And our email address is owlnshow@gmail.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram. Both are at owlnshow. Our website is www.owlnshow.com. Our YouTube channel, just search Overwatch League Network and look for our logo. We are 40 or 38 subscribers away from getting a custom URL. Help us out. Go find our YouTube channel, Overwatch League Network. We're on Discord, discord.me/OWLN show. You can find us on twitch.tv /OWLN show. We are live Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and Heroes Never Die is live Thursdays at 5 p.m. PST. Totemly Drunk can be found at Totemly Drunk CTR or on twitch.tv/Totemly Drunk. You can find me on Twitter at SlamboVerwatch or my dormant, dusty Twitch page on twitch.tv/Slambo. Spider, what about you?
Well, you could tell me how badly I messed up this episode tonight by messing up the show notes on Twitter at SpiderGD. I'm still taking flack for saying Shanghai will beat the Shock, so you can message me there. Otherwise, you can find my Twitch page at twitch.tv/SpiderGD, but it's kind of like yours. It's kind of dormant at this point. You know, being a dad, it's hard to stream. Other than that, I think that's going to do it for us this week. So thanks again for watching, and we will see you all next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Overwatch League Network. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at OWLN Show. The theme music for OWLN is the main theme and victory theme guitar remix by Michael Mack.